All right. Well, Ross, very excited to chat with you. Do you mind just doing a quick introduction?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Ross Mead. I am the founder and CEO of Semio AI and the executive director of Semio Community. Semio AI is building an operating system, app ecosystem, and developer tools for personal robots, all focusing on really effective human-robot interaction. And then Semio Community is our 501c3 nonprofit side focused on building reproducible human-robot interaction science and systems. So I'm wearing at least two hats today.
A lot of great hats there. So, how did you get started in this?
In the company or in robotics?
How about robotics? And then how did you end up down this path?
Sure. Yeah. So in robotics, this goes back to high school, and I first started getting into computer programming. I guess my freshman year in high school, and I liked it a lot, but I just didn't know what I was going to do with it long term. I didn't like the idea of sitting in a cubicle and just like writing code for someone else all day. And then there was a local university professor who wanted to get high school kids into robotics. And this is a time when robotics was barely accessible at the college level. And he believed that, high school students could, in this case, in a robot competition, compete against the colleges. And so I liked the idea of what I kind of considered code with consequence. So it was like,
Mm.
if you tell the robot that's maybe sitting on a tabletop to move and it drives off, that's on you. And so there's real consequence in the physical world. And so yeah, I participated in a robot sumo competition, and we went up against we were the only high school team. We went up against 23 college teams, and we went undefeated.
Very
And
cool.
so that was sort of my maybe there's something here for me.
That's awesome. And I know we were chatting before, you were talking about kind of the path for turning your research into what became this company too. Do you mind talking a little bit more about that journey?
Oh yeah. So yeah. So that same professor who got me into robotics when I was in high school, I ended up studying with him during my undergrad, and then I learned what a PhD was and what research was. He got me doing research when I was a freshman in college. And so decided I was going to go that route. Decided I was very likely going to become a faculty member, and it was near the end of my PhD where I started noticing we were collaborating with like the top universities, all over the country. And I just kept feeling like we're all doing a bunch of the same things, which you kind
Mm.
of have to do for your research. Everyone will maybe focus in the same area, but try things in a different way. But I was like, someone is going to build a standard around how humans and robots can interact. In my case, through multimodal natural language, through speech and body language. And so I thought, someone's going to come up with this standard. And then I looked around the room and I'm like, well, the people who are capable of doing that are standing in this room.
Mm.
And I'm like, I don't think they're going to do it. Like I feel like these are people they've got great opportunities lined up already. Or they have different career choices. And I was like, well, okay, maybe I'm going to do it. And so it
Cool.
was, yeah, it was maybe the last year or two of my PhD where I got the startup bug. And I thought, it's kind of a now or never thing for me. And yeah, I graduated in December of 2015. I started the company in January of 2016. I had $275 in my bank account when I started it, which is anyone listening, a terrible idea. Do not do that. That's a bad move. And I will say, I think the most impactful thing in that process, I had a PhD in computer science. I had no business running a business. And within the first 6 months of running Semio, I realized that I was just wrong about everything. Like everything, you kind of come a freshly minted PhD who thinks you have all the answers. And then realizing that you're kind of operating years ahead, and there are real business challenges that your customers are facing right now that don't need that 10-year out solution. They need a today solution kind of thing. And so it took me a good 6 months and a lot of failure to figure out what the market actually needed.
Mm.
And we've been doing it ever since.
So how did you think about balancing like creating that standard, keeping that far vision in mind with also what do you even do first? Like what is that starting point? What do you build right away?
Well, so I mean, right out of the gate, I built, and
Mm.
so we built things at the very beginning. And again, this is how I approached the problem in completely the wrong way, basically. So we built something, we thought it was the greatest thing in the world, and then we went to people and we basically told them why they should use it. And I was so confused as to why, people didn't follow up with me, right? And when I was a researcher, by the way, they would. They were really interested in these big ideas when I was a researcher. But now that there's a product here that I'm building, they're like, we don't need that right now, because it was so out there. It was so different,
Mm,
than it didn't fit in their workflow. There are a bunch of reasons why it flopped right out of the gate. And I think the most impactful thing was actually talking to one customer who had said, we love what you're doing, but you're solving problem 1000 and we need you to solve problem one.
mm,
And uh, it occurred to me again. This is kind of like coming out, and you got a little bit of that freshly minted doctor kind of title, and the ego that kind of comes with it. And I was like, I never asked what problem one was. I
mm,
asked questions. I had come to everyone with solutions. It was very prescriptive, right? And
mm,
I'd never asked the questions. And it was interesting because in that conversation, I said, okay, like, again, the ego coming through of like, I'll entertain this. What's problem number one? And they told me, and I'm like, that's it? That's the problem? And I was like, yeah, we can do that. And that ended up being one of our first customers. Was just it wasn't a problem that actually was a really challenging problem given the research background. It's just that no one had built a product
mm,
around some of those research insights, and so that was sort of the starting point for our products, but also like how we approached it. So I was,
mm.
um, you know, one thing that was really, really impactful during that 6 month period was participating in the NSF iCore program,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's a really, really
it's a great
fantastic program.
program.
It's a heavy lift. So it's typically 7 to 9 weeks, where you get, at the time it was $50,000 to travel, anywhere to talk to a minimum of 100 prospective customers, one-on-one, face-to-face, over the course of 7 to 9 weeks. And it's brutal. And like,
Mhm,
after 20 interviews, you realize you don't understand anything about what your market, you know,
mhm,
needs, but you're starting to get a better sense of how to ask questions. By interview 80, that's when you usually find that one key insight. Like, a bunch of things
mm,
converge, there's a bunch of noise, but you end up finding like there's this one signal that I keep getting over and over again. And usually by the time you get to 100, it's not so much that you have the solution, but you have a direction.
mhm.
And yeah, so to date, I credit the iCore program for allowing me to basically continue to be a researcher, but like apply my scientific mindset to testing hypotheses in the market.
That's super cool. And I think it's balancing too, like what is an industry you can start in now versus what is going to be the long-term best industry? Like there's so much there. It's like how are you crafting a meaningful business direction, but one that you can win in all
Yeah,
aspects as
absolutely.
well.
I mean, I'll say this. Like, I think the thing that uh, what we'll say gave me a little bit of comfort in the end is that it wasn't that the original ideas that we had were wrong. It was that we were doing them kind of in the wrong order.
Mm,
So, like, I mentioned earlier, building an operating system, app ecosystem, and developer tools. That is a nice pitch, but really, we actually are developing things in the reverse order now.
mm,
So we're focusing on developer tools to be able to build robot behaviors and applications. Well, once you've got those, you want to distribute those. Okay, well, those can be distributed through an app or an asset ecosystem. And well, then you need a standard engine to kind of consume and run those behaviors and applications. And that's where sort of an operating system comes into play. And so before, we were completely backwards.
mm.
And at the time, we didn't have the credibility. Credibility as a researcher, sure. Credibility as a business, absolutely not. There were, again, so many things that were working against us, and I was clueless. And so, yeah,
I
learned my lessons, and went from a bad business person to hopefully a decent one now.
No, that sounds like a great journey. And I think if you're talking, I know we have a lot of hardware builders who would listen to this. Like
Mhm.
if somebody is in that research, that idea phase, like what's a piece of advice that you would give them to think about how do you stay in that meaningful, innovative direction, but get over the hump into something real?
I mean, especially for hardware. I mean, so we tend to focus on software and serving
Hmm.
hardware companies. Um, hardware is going to be expensive, and so you better be really darn sure that there's actually a market for what you're doing.
Mhm,
Especially for a builder, we like to build, and
mhm,
so the whole there's part of me that says like sit on your hands, like just go sit on your hands and go talk to someone who you think is going to who has the problem, or at least you think has the problem that your thing is going to solve, and be real darn sure that they actually have that problem and they're willing to pay for it,
mhm.
um, or willing to pay for a solution to that. And also, people talk a lot about passion in a lot of this stuff, and this is not to say that passion's overrated. I want to be crystal clear. I'm not saying that, but it's you more so than being passionate about the cool thing that you're building, be passionate about your customer, be passionate about their problems, like real, like we talk about empathy with the customer. Genuinely have empathy for the customer, really feel their pain, put yourself, honestly, genuinely force yourself to be into their situations if possible, so that you can experience that pain, so you can truly understand and empathize with it, because it is different than just asking someone, and asking is better, but also certainly different than not asking and just assuming that someone's got this problem and you've got the solution. And so I would say to anyone in hardware, software, any product really, sit on your hands and don't build a damn thing, which is probably the opposite of what a lot of people might want to hear.
No, it's great advice. It's like that, like listening, and even like just how do you get into the operations? How do you just have your view on something just challenged again and again? So potentially shifting gears or going a different direction. Corey sounds pretty exciting. So I'd love to learn more about that.
Yeah. So Corey, that's Quori. Corey is an NSF funded, not for profit, absolutely open everything, hardware and software, modular social robot platform for the human robot interaction research community. The first version of Corey started back in about 2015. This is Corey version 1. Uh, and it was a community informed design. So we had regular interactions with the research community to try and understand their needs and then engineer something that could meet those needs. At the time, there was a robot that was out there that was really kind of facilitating innovation in robot perception, mobility, and manipulation, but it cost on the order of about $500,000.
Mm,
And so we wanted to build Corey to be closer to around $10,000.
mm.
And so we got this funding, went through this iterative process, and we ended up building 10 of these robots. It was actually built in the height of COVID in one poor person's attic. Just like one poor PhD student just spent COVID building this robot in his attic because that's what we had to do, while also dealing with all these supply chain issues, stuff like that.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, these robots, so 10 robots get distributed to 11 research sites, so all 10 robots get distributed for free to 11 collaborative research teams. So it was 11 universities and 35 different research groups. In its largest deployment, it was deployed in the Philadelphia Museum of Art, where it's operated, I believe, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week for 6 months straight, and interact with over 183,000 people, which for
Wow.
our field is, to my knowledge, the largest deployment I've seen. And so, after that, we submitted a follow-on research grant and got funding for Corey version 2 that would allow us to redesign the robot for mass manufacturing, working with a design for manufacturing firm, Ologic, in the Bay Area, who've built some of the coolest robot products in the world. And so basically allowing us to scale this up and distribute it to more research groups, not just in the US, but actually around the world. And I guess I'll also mention on top of that, so we won the let's see, 2024 International Conference on Social Robotics Robot Design Competition. And then
Wow.
as of like 48 hours ago, maybe 24 hours ago, we just won a Best Paper Award for engineering from the RoboPep Symposium.
Very
So
cool.
yeah.
Congratulations.
So thank you. Yeah. So Corey it's a really fantastic platform. We're still keeping the costs down. But it's really, I think, going to show just the process of really engaging your audience, be it just
Mhm.
customers, users, whatever, really engaging them in using that feedback effectively without ego, stepping
Mm.
back and really listening to what they have to say, understanding their problems. Again, it's not their job to give you the solution. It's their job to articulate their problems. It's your job to interpret those and then turn it into a solution. But the outcome of this process is not at all what I was originally going to. I couldn't have predicted the Corey version 2 that we've got right now is what was going to come out of this process. But now I'm thrilled. I would have never on my own come to these conclusions or had these innovations. It's all through the insights of my colleagues.
That's super incredible, and just like that you brought a great group of people together to solve these problems. What is something that somebody usually wouldn't know about socially assisted robotics that would be kind of fun for someone to learn?
Um, okay, yeah. So, socially assisted robotics. This is a field of socially interactive robotics that tends to focus on people with special needs. And so, when I was a researcher, we would work with kids with autism, people post-stroke, older adults, people with Alzheimer's, all to improve quality of life, and it's purely through social means. So, no, when we think about robots, we tend to
Mm.
think about grabbing things and moving things, right? But this is using your language. It's using your spoken language and your body language,
Mhm.
using that to assist a person in their activities of daily living. Um, and I will say one thing that's maybe the most interesting from my perspective of socially assisted robotics is that it's one of the only areas of AI, robotics, automation that is not so much going to be replacing jobs. It is going to be augmenting them. It's actually going to be
Mm.
uh, providing services and care where those services and that care is not currently provided. So there
Mm.
are more people affected by the various disabilities and disorders that I just listed than there are people who can help them. More people affected by them than there are people in the pipe to help them. And so this is a situation where a robot is not going to be taking someone's job. It's going to be providing a job that is absolutely not filled right
It's incredibly meaningful, and I'm excited to see where that vision continues to play out because just like can be totally transformative in people's lives.
now. Yeah, thanks.
Well, if anyone wants to learn more about Corey, what should they do to find out more?
Sure. Yeah. So to learn more about Corey, you can go to our website. It's QUORI.org, Corey.org. If you want to learn more about the sort of nonprofit managing entity for Corey, that is Semio Community, which you can go to Semio, SEMIO .community. That's it, and it will take you right there. And then
That's
if you want
great.
to learn more about our software company, Semio AI, you can go to Semio, SEMIO .ai.
Awesome. Well, Ross, thank you so much. That was super fun to learn about, and I'm excited to see where this all plays out.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tess.